Namaste. My name is Janapati Das. Please accept my respects. For today, we are going to engage in some Krishna Katha, reading from the Krishna book by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much for joining. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and feel free to make a comment. Making comments, making likes, sharing this content makes the algorithm, I guess the word is, go higher and more likely for people to see this. So if you know people, make sure you share this and encourage them to like and comment, make comments on below our questions. And this will increase the number of people able to see this. I'd like to offer respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Jagat Guru Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada. And we're going to chant, so please join in. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Bhakta-vrinda Raja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Okay, Haribol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are continuing again with our story. We were actually on the same chapter. That was Krishna recovers the son of his teacher. That's where we left off. We were still reading. We hadn't quite got to that story yet, but actually we were learning about Krishna and Balaram, of course, had gone within Mathura and spending time with their birth parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, and of course being who's Devaki, that they were in they had to be raised as Brahmins, so they were given the Gayatri mantra and the sacred thread ceremony, and they were entered into Gurukula, which was like an ashram for kids to basically learn spiritual matters. And we were talked about the point that the best way during this student time of life which is about, generally speaking, for boys in the old Vedic times, it's up to about 16, but in today's day it can be up to 21 or more. Actually, the situation. But at this time, when you're going through your teens, you would actually be learning your school studies, not only like they do with materialistic kids, but also, in this case, you'd be learning very spiritual matters from your spiritual master in the Gurukula. And so they took their spiritual master was Sandipani Muni, and he was instructing them in different kinds of matters. And so we're going to read now about what they learned while they were in the Gurukula, or this boys' school. First of all, they learned how to sing, how to compose songs, and how to recognize the different tunes. They learned the favorable and unfavorable accents and meters, how to sing different kinds of rhythms and melodies, and how to follow them by beating different kinds of drums. They learned how to dance with rhythm, melody, and different songs. They learned how to write dramas, and they learned the various types of paintings, beginning from the different village arts up to the highest perfectional stage. So they're learning the arts, music, drama, and theater, and the arts. They also learned how to paint tilak on the face and to make different kinds of dots on the forehead and cheeks. They then learned the art of painting on the floor with liquid paste and rice and flour. Such paintings are very popular at auspicious ceremonies performed at household affairs or in the temple. They learned how to make a resting place with flowers and how to decorate clothing and leaves with colorful paintings. They also learned how to set different valuable jewels and ornaments. They learned the art of ringing water pots. Water pots are filled with water at a certain measurement so that when one beats on the pots, different tunes are produced. And when the pots are beaten together, they produce a melodious sound. They also learned how to throw water in the rivers or the lakes while taking a bath among the friends. They also learned how to decorate with flowers. This art of decorating can still be seen in various temples of Vrindavan during the summer season. It is called Fulabadi. The dais, the throne, the walls, and the ceilings are all fully decorated, and a small aromatic fountain of flowers is fixed in the center. Because of these floral decorations, people fatigued from the heat of the summer season become refreshed. Krishna and Balaram learned the art of dressing hair in various styles and fixing a helmet in different positions on the head. They also learned how to perform on a theatrical stage, how to decorate dramatic actors with flower ornaments over the ear, and how to sprinkle sandalwood pulp in water to produce a nice fragrance. They also learned the art of performing magical feats. Within the magical field, there is an art called Bahurupi, by which a person dresses himself in such a way that when he approaches a friend, he cannot be recognized. They also learned how to make beverages, which are required at various times. They studied syrups and tastes and the effects of intoxication. They learned how to manipulate thin threads for dancing puppets. And they learned how to string wires on musical instruments such as the veena, sitar, and tampura to produce melodious sound. Then they learned puzzles, how to set and solve them. They learned the art of reading books, from which even a foolish student can very quickly learn to read the alphabet and comprehend writing. Then they learned how to rehearse and act out a drama. They also studied the art of solving crossword puzzles, filling up the missing space and making complete words. They also learned how to draw pictographic literature. In some countries in the world, pictographic literature is still current. A story is represented by pictures, for instance. A man and a house are pictured to represent a man going home. Krishna and Balaram also learned the art of architecture, how to construct residential buildings. They learned how to recognize valuable jewels by studying the luster and the quality of their colors. Then they learned the art of setting jewels with gold and silver. They also learned how to study soil to find minerals. So here we go, we're getting into biology now. The study of soil is now a greatly specialized science, but formerly it was common knowledge even for the ordinary man. Just goes to show that the advanced nature of the Vedic civilization. People oftentimes look back at other civilizations and think these are like backwards, what do they call them, primitive cultures. But actually the Vedic culture is the original culture, is where all sciences and all concepts and ideas and philosophies that now we see coming out of European culture were actually originally from the Vedic culture. So, you know, a lot of the things that they're just now discovering in science was already known in the Vedic culture. The idea of the string theory, multiple universes, the idea of like, you know, the creation of the universe. It was like, you know, so it was all known. The different elements of the universe, so many things that the Vedic culture already knew. They learned to study herbs and plants and to extract medicine from the elements of botany, right? By studying the different species of plants, they learned how to crossbreed plants and get different types of fruits. So we got, that's like, what is that, what do they call that? You maybe put the comment down there. I think it's a type of genetics, you know, that they do, crossbreeding and grafting and things, you know. And I was in Peace Corps in agriculture and forestry. I learned how to graft and how to, you know, put one superior branch from a superior tree onto a mango tree that's an inferior, and then that tree will start producing the superior fruits. So this was already known. They learned how to train and engage lambs and cocks in fighting for sporting purposes. They then learned how to teach parrots to speak and answer the questions of human beings. They learned practical psychology. There we go. So psychology was not created in Western society with Freud. It was actually something that was already known in the Vedic system. How to influence another's mind and thus induce another to act according to one's own desire. Sometimes this is called hypnotism. They learned how to wash hair, dye it in different colors, and curl it in different ways. They learned the art of telling what is written in someone's book without actually seeing it. They learned to tell what is contained in another's fist. Sometimes children imitate this art, although not very accurately. One child keeps something within his fist and asks his friend, "Can you tell me what is within?" And the friend gives some suggestion, although he cannot tell. But there is an art by which one can understand and actually tell what is held within the fist. Krishna and Balaram learned how to speak and understand the languages of various countries. So they're learning different languages. They learned not only the languages of human beings, they could also learn even with the animals and birds. So that's a science that's gone now. Nobody really knows how to do that. They can just kind of like assume, you know, oh, when they do this, they're trying to mate, or but this was actually communication. But great saints have been able to do that, you know, like Saint Francis was able to communicate with animals. Evidence of this is found in Vaishnava literature compiled by the Goswamis. Then they learned how to make carriages and airplanes from flowers. It is said that in the Ramayana, that after defeating Ravana, Ramachandra was carried away from Lanka to Bharatvarsha on the plain of flowers called Pushpa Ratha. So the technologies of planes and spaceships and whatnot, those are already existing in the Vedic system run on mantras. Some science that is no longer even, there were great weaponry that were run on mantras to water weapons like nuclear weapons, but they were like water weapons. They had nuclear weapons back then too, but they were much different. Everything was run on mantras, which is a science that is no longer known. Krishna then learned the art of foretelling events by seeing signs. In a book called Kanarvachana, the various types of signs and omens are described. If when one is going out, one sees someone with a bucket full of water, that is a very good sign. But if one sees someone with an empty bucket, that it is not a very good sign. Similarly, if one sees cow's milk along with a calf, it is a good sign. The result of understanding these signs is that one can foretell events, and Krishna learned the science. So there was an actual science of understanding that. What's known today sometimes is old wives' tales and things like that really were lost in the science. The science was already existent before of how that was done. But what came later is what people call old wives' tales were not necessarily true because they were broken from the science. Krishna learned the art of composing matrika. A matrika is a crossword section with 3 letters in a line. Counting any 3 from any side, it will count 9. Sounds like, what is that, Sudoku? a little bit. The matrakas are different kinds and are for different purposes. Krishna learned the art of cutting valuable stones such as diamonds, and he learned the art of questioning and answering by immediately composing poetry within his mind. He learned the science of the action and reaction of physical combinations and permutations. Chemistry, right? Chemistry and physics. He learned the art of a psychiatrist who can understand the psychic movements of another person. He learned how to satisfy one's desires. Desires are very difficult to fulfill, but if one desires something which is unreasonable and can never be fulfilled, the desire can be subdued and satisfied, and that is an art. By this art, one can also subdue sex impulses when they are aroused, as they are even in brahmachari life. By this art, one can make even an enemy his friend or transfer the direct action of a physical event to other things. Lord Krishna and Balaram, the reservoir of all knowledge of arts and sciences, exhibited their perfect understanding when they offered to serve their teacher by awarding him anything he desired. This offering by the student to the teacher or spiritual master is called Guru Dakshina. So it used to be that when your spiritual master would teach you in all these things, that there was a payment that you were expected to give, and that could come in different kinds of forms. So as we will see, it is essential that a student satisfy the teacher in return for any learning received, either material or spiritual. When Krishna and Balaram offered their service in this way, the teacher Sandipani Muni thought it wise to ask them for something extraordinary, something which no common student could offer. He therefore consulted with his wife about what to ask from them. They had already seen the extraordinary potencies of Krishna and Balaram and could understand that the 2 boys were the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They decided to ask for the return of their son, who had drowned in the ocean on the bank of Prabhakashetra. When Krishna and Balaram heard from their teacher about the death of his son on the bank of Prabhakashetra, they immediately started for the ocean on their chariot. Reaching the beach, they asked the controlling deity of the ocean to return the son of their teacher. So that's the ocean deity immediately appeared before the Lord and offered him Varuna. Sorry, I was trying to remember his name, the demigod of the ocean and waters, Varuna. The ocean deity immediately appeared before the Lord and offered him all respectful obeisances with great humility. The Lord said, "Sometime back you caused the drowning of the son of our teacher. I order you to return him." The ocean deity replied, "The boy was not actually taken by me, but was captured by a demon named Panchajana. This great demon generally remains deep in the water in the shape of a conch shell. The son of your teacher might be within the belly of the demon, having been devoured by him." On hearing this, Krishna dove deep into the water and caught hold of the demon Panchajana. He killed him on the spot, but could not find the son of his teacher within his belly. Therefore he took the demon's dead body in the shape of a conch shell and returned to his chariot on the beach of Parabhakashetra. From there he started for Shamyamani, the residence of Yamaraj. The Yamaraj is the predominating deity of death, of death and of the underworld, of the hellish planets and judgment, right? So some of this idea that, there are hellish planets and there's judgment in the Judeo-Christian Islamic faith is true. It is true. People will be judged for their actions in this life, and they will receive the according punishment. But the difference being is that it's part of this sort of material world. The hellish planets, the heavenly planets, the earthly planets. It's all part of the material world in some way. And it's not some kind of like supernatural existence like hell in the Christian faith, or like heaven is like in the Christian faith. There are heavenly planets and there are hellish planets, and then there's a spiritual world where we are aspiring to return back to, right? So unlike the Christian faith, there is no real Vedic proof. There's no proof in scriptures, even in the biblical scriptures, that a hellish existence or the hell or punishment awaits eternally. So sometimes a hellish punishment for the kinds of things that you do karmically could be very, very long, but it's not eternal. So, you are always given this opportunity. You have to pay back. You have to pay back, just like you borrow money. If you borrow money, you have to pay it back, right? So similarly, the kinds of actions that we have karmically, the karmic meaning action, karmic action, reactions, will have reactions. If we do something pious, we will receive a good karmic reaction. If we do something impious or against a karma, which is known in the Vedas as things that are completely forbidden, that are un-Vedic, so there will be reaction as well. Even karmic reactions are actually considered to be, good karma reactions are considered to be not really favorable for the living entity, because the living entity will have to stay in the material world to receive those things. Rather, we should engage our activities and our actions in the service of Krishna, which does not occur karmic reactions and can help us come back to Krishna. But the point of being is that Yamaraj, they're going to see Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. Let's see, okay. Accompanied by his elder brother Balaram, who is also known as Halayuddha, Krishna arrived there and blew on his conch shell. Hearing the vibration, Yamaraj appeared and received Sri Krishna with all respectful obeisances. Yamaraj could understand who Krishna and Balaram were, and therefore he immediately offered his humble service to the Lord. Krishna had appeared on the surface of the earth as an ordinary human being, but actually Krishna and Balaram are the super soul living within the heart of every living entity. They are Vishnu himself, but were playing just like ordinary human boys. As Yamaraj offered his services to the Lord, Sri Krishna asked him to return his teacher's son, who had come to him as a result of his work. Considering my ruling as supreme, said Krishna, you should immediately return the son of my teacher. Yamaraj returned the boy to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna and Balaram brought him to his father. The brothers asked if their teacher had anything more to ask from them, but he replied, my dear sons, you have done enough for me. I am now completely satisfied. What further want can there be for a man who has disciples like you? My dear boys, you can go home now. These glorious acts of yours will always be renowned all over the world. You are above all blessing, and yet it is my duty to bless you. So, once again, Krishna and Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they don't really need a spiritual master. They don't need to follow the rules and regulations. But as we brought up many, many times, Krishna and Balaram says, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, what great men do, common men will follow. So they are setting an example of what is expected for for the living entities to live a spiritual life, to come back to Krishna, is to take on a spiritual master, to engage your life in. And ideally, if you've come into this world, into a family of devotees, that you will be trained in a spiritual way as a brahmachari until, if you decide to take on a wife or a husband in your gridhastha state, or your varna, of being gridhastha. So that is actually, gridhastha ashram, the ashram of gridhastha, or householder. And so that is what Krishna and Balaram were doing. They were basically saying, and even Sandipani Muni understood that they were the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but, understood that he had a duty to act as their spiritual master and also instruct them, to set an example. That is his service to Krishna and Balaram and his great fortune. My dear boys, okay, so I give you the benediction that whatever you speak will remain as eternally fresh as the instruction of the Vedas. And it's true. The words of Krishna, the story, in the Bhagavad Gita is eternally fresh and ever revealing eternally. Just like it's said in, I was reading in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya about how Lord Chaitanya was saying that, the Vedic the understanding of spiritual life, the spiritual matters of Krishna and Radha and Krishna are eternal, and they cannot be, they're like an ocean that you cannot cross, but that you are continually learning from. That is so wonderful, because things in the material world are always and ever become very stale. No matter how fresh and sweet they appear at first, they always become stale. Whereas the topic matter of Krishna Katha is always eternal, it's always fresh, it's always revealing, and it's amazing to me every time that I read the Bhagavad Gita, and I've read it so many years, 20 years or more, and it just feels like it's a new thing, and I'm always like, wow, I'm at the beginning again. I'm at the beginning of understanding it. It's just so immense. So it's very wonderful. So your teachings will not only be honored within this universe or in this millennium, but in all places and ages, and will remain increasingly new and important. Due to this benediction from his teacher, Lord Krishna's Bhagavad Gita, here we are, is ever increasingly fresh. It is not only renowned within this universe, but in other planets and in other universes also. Yes, it's this eternal song of God that's continually going on. And also tonight, which I believe is the 9th, at 7 o'clock Hawaii Standard Time, I will be giving a Bhagavad Gita, as it is class, on Yoga Kirtan Hawaii Facebook page. So if you see this, you can go to that. If you're watching the video recording of this, you can go to that Facebook page, and there are actually, I have like 10 or so Bhagavad Gita classes there that you can watch as well. Being ordered by their teacher, Krishna and Balaram immediately returned home on their chariots. They traveled at great speeds like the wind and made sounds like crashing of clouds. All the residents of Mathura who had not seen Krishna and Balaram for a long time were very pleased to see them again. They felt joyful like a person who has regained his lost property. So we see this again, without Krishna, you're feeling empty-hearted, but with Krishna, you feel all full again. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 44th chapter of Krishna. Krishna recovers the son of his teacher, and as I always say, every chapter is so wonderful. I'm like, oh, that's a wonderful chapter. But they're all wonderful. They have such wonderful and beautiful and eternal messages in the Bhagavad Gita. And even this Srimad Bhagavatam Krishna book, I've read so many times, and every time I read it, I'm amazed by the wisdom it reveals. And so I encourage you to continue every day to make a practice to read the scripture or listen to Krishna Katha, listen to the words of your spiritual master, and you will see that engaging in that things become ever revealing and ever fresh and ever new. So next chapter we will read is Uddhava visits Vrindavan, which is a really exciting, another exciting chapter. Uddhava, of course, the great dear friend of Krishna. And I think we're just going to stop there and just start, next one. I know it's always very exciting to jump into another one, but since we just finished this last really exciting story, we will just chant right now, which is also very wonderful too. Thank you very much. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to punch that like button and make a comment below. Hardball.